I've been the keeper of the Heron Point Lighthouse for 22 years. It sits on a rock shelf at the edge of the Atlantic, 2 miles from the nearest town, accessible only by a causeway that floods at high tide. The light runs on a schedule I didn't set and can't change. It doesn't match any maritime navigation pattern. I know because I checked. Last Tuesday, I turned it off to replace a fuse. Something surfaced from the ocean 17 minutes later and asked me why the signal had stopped. My name is Thomas Calloway, and I am possibly the last traditional lighthouse keeper on the eastern seaboard. The Coast Guard automated everything decades ago, but Heron Point runs on a system nobody can figure out. The wiring isn't standard. The lens isn't glass, it's some kind of crystal that the engineers said they'd never seen before. The light pulses in a pattern that changes with the seasons. In summer, it's a slow, steady rhythm. In winter, it speeds up. None of this matches any navigation code in existence. I was hired because someone needed to live here and keep the place maintained. The pay is decent, the solitude is perfect, and for 22 years, I never questioned the light. I just let it do its thing. The ocean is dark and deep and full of things I don't understand, and I've always figured the less I know, the better I sleep. I started keeping records 10 years in, just out of curiosity. I logged the light pattern every night, pulse duration, interval intensity. I filled 3 notebooks. When I finally plotted it all on a graph, I got something that looked like a heartbeat, a slow, massive heartbeat that cycled over the course of a year. The pulse was fastest at the winter solstice and slowest at the summer. It wasn't random. It wasn't mechanical error. It was intentional, designed communication of some kind. I showed the notebooks to a friend at the university who studied signal analysis. She went quiet for a long time. Then she said, "This isn't a lighthouse pattern, Thomas. This is a navigational beacon. Whatever it's guiding, it isn't ships." I asked what she meant. She said, "The signal is aimed up, not out to sea, up." Last Tuesday, the main fuse blew during a storm. Standard maintenance, I've replaced it 100 times, takes 10 minutes. The light went dark. I climbed the tower, swapped the fuse, and was about to restart the system when I noticed something through the gallery window. The ocean was glowing, not everywhere, just in one spot, about a quarter-mile offshore. A circle of bioluminescence, pulsing in the same rhythm the lighthouse used, like something was repeating the signal back. I stood there watching for maybe 15 minutes. Then the water in the center of that circle began to rise, not a wave, a shape, something enormous pushing up from below, displacing water in all directions. I could see the outline against the stars, curved, massive, smooth as polished stone, and from somewhere inside it came a sound, low, deep, a vibration I felt in my chest more than heard. It was asking a question. I turned the light back on. The shape in the water stopped rising. The bioluminescence flickered and then matched the lighthouse pattern exactly, pulse for pulse, rhythm for rhythm, a response, an acknowledgement. Over the next 3 hours, I sat in the gallery and watched the largest living thing I've ever seen slowly surface and then slowly descend. It was at least a mile across. Smooth, dark, with patterns on its surface that caught starlight like mother of pearl. It wasn't a machine, it was alive. And it had been here, in the deep Atlantic, longer than the lighthouse, longer than the country, maybe longer than humanity. The lighthouse wasn't built to guide ships. It was built to tell this creature, whatever it was, that someone was here, that the surface was inhabited, that we knew about each other. It was a greeting, running on a loop for centuries. "Hello, we're here, we see you." I reported what I saw to nobody. Who would I tell? But I started paying closer attention, and I realized it wasn't just one creature. On calm nights, with the light running its pattern, I could see answering glows from different points in the ocean. 3, sometimes 4, spread across the horizon. The deep Atlantic is full of them. Patient, ancient, impossibly large beings that have been waiting in the dark water since before we built cities. The lighthouse is the only thing on the surface that speaks their language, and I'm the one who keeps it running. I started thinking of myself differently after that, not a lighthouse keeper, a harbor master. For things that travel between stars and rest in our oceans, the light guides them in, the pattern tells them it's safe, and I make sure the fuse doesn't blow. I keep the logbooks now for a different reason. I record their patterns, when they surface, how many, what the bioluminescence looks like each time. Notebook 4 is almost full. Nobody will read these in my lifetime. Maybe not in the next lifetime either, but someday someone will take over this lighthouse. And they'll find my notebooks, like I found the old keeper's notebooks in the basement. His entries from 1923 make a lot more sense now. Saw lights in the water again. Third time this month. They respond to the beacon. I believe they are friendly, he knew, and whoever came before him knew. We've been keeping this lighthouse for generations, passing down a job we barely understood, maintaining a signal we didn't design for visitors we couldn't see. I'm 64 years old. I'll need to find a replacement eventually. Someone calm, someone who doesn't ask too many questions, someone who'll keep the light on. The ocean is full of old friends. And they're counting on us.